In the previous video, we looked at two of the string classes methods for formatting. We've also briefly looked at a few more obvious string methods in some of the sample code I've shown to date. The string has over 60 methods available. I won't cover them all here, but I'll cover the ones you'll probably use the most. The string is a sequence of characters, meaning its characters are ordered and indexed. The index starts at 0 and not 1. This is important to know if you're going to work with strings successfully. The table below shows the indices above each character for the string Hello World. We can say the character H is at index 0 and W is at index 6. The length of this string is 11, but its last index is 10. We can split strings methods up into three basic categories. String inspection methods. These provide some information about the string with methods like length, is empty, and is blank. Methods for comparing string values. These usually return a Boolean value. String values are equal or not. String manipulation methods. These transform one string value into another. Let's start with a look at some of the string inspection methods. We have some methods that tell us about the string value. The method length tells us the number of characters in a sequence. The method charat will return a character if we specify an index position. There are two methods, index of and last index of, that can tell us if the string value contains a specified character or substring. Finally, the methods is empty and is blank. They tell us whether the sequence is empty or if it contains just white space characters. I've created a project called All About Strings with the usual main class and main method. Let's start with another method that will print some string information using a couple of the inspection methods. That method will be public and static and won't return anything. I'll call it print information, and it has one parameter, a string, which I'll name string. Int length equals string.length parentheses. I'll use printf to print the length. And also print the first character using string.charat. I'm creating a variable called length and setting it to the value returned from the length method. Then I print that out using printf to reinforce how to use it, as we learned in the last video. I also want to print the first character, and for this I use the method charat and pass it 0, which gets the first character in the string. And here, notice this additional specifier we're using, %c. I haven't used this before so far in the course, but it just prints a single character. Let's call this method from the main method, and I'll pass it hello world. Print information, passing the argument hello world. And now if I run that, you can see the length of the string is 11, and the first character of the string is H. Let's add some more functionality to the print information method and now get the last character. For character sequences in Java, the position starts with 0, and the last character is 1 less than the string length. Let's add that code, using printf again to print the last character from the string. I do this by calling charat again, but passing the value of length -1, and running that. I get last char is D. You can use the method charat with any index from 0 to the length -1 to retrieve the character at that index. Passing any other index that's not valid will cause a runtime exception when the code runs. Now let's look at the difference between is empty and is blank next. First of all, if a string is empty, its length will be 0. I don't want to pass a bad index to the charat method, so if the string is empty, I'll return from the method before those statements. Let's add that code, if, and in parentheses, string.isEmpty. I'll println a message to indicate the string is empty, and then return. Let's test an empty string by calling this from the main method, print information, and an empty string as the argument, and running that. We see the last two lines that length is 0, and that string is empty. But if the string is blank, this means there are still characters, but they're just white space characters like tabs, new lines, spaces, etc. I can still check the length and use the charat method for the first and last character, so I won't return from the method in this if statement. If, and in parentheses, string.isBlank. Println string is blank. Now I'll add another call to my print method in the main method. Print information, parentheses, and a literal string that contains \t, some spaces, and \n. And when I run that, you can see there are 5 characters in the string, whereas blank was true and the first and last characters are white space of some sort. That's the difference between is empty and is blank. Now lastly, let's talk about the index of and last index of methods. First, these methods have several overloaded varieties. You can search for a single character or a string. Let's look for the letter R in the hello world string. String hello world equals hello world. I'm using printf to print the index of the letter R, as well as %n to move to the next line. And running this, we get index of R equals 8. Now let's call that same method, but this time I'll search for a string and not just a letter. Let's also look for the string world in hello world. I'll copy that last statement and paste a copy below. I'll change the letter R to world in the label, and I'll change the character R to the string world in the call to the method. And running that, I get index of world equals 6. Hopefully, there's no surprises with those two overloaded versions. What happens if I use this method with the letter L? Again, let's copy the statement that searches for the letter R and paste that. And I'll change the label from R to L. I'll also change the argument of the method from R to L. And now, let's copy and paste the statement I just created. This time, I'll change the method name to last index of, and running that. I get index as 2 for the first call, but index is 9 for the next one. The first method index of gave us the position of the first L in hello world, and the second method last index of gave us the position of the last L in hello world. That's the difference between those two methods. But what if I want to get the position of the second L? How would I do that? Well, both of these methods each have a second parameter, an integer. Passing this argument tells the code where to start searching for a match. I've found the first L at position 2. If I wanted to start looking for the next L, I'd start looking after that at index 3. I can pass 3 as the second argument to the index of method, and I can do something similar with the last index of method. I said the last L was at index 9, and since this method searches forward for the character and not backwards, I'll use 8 as the second argument. Let's copy both of those previous statements and paste copies, and add 3 as a second argument in the first method call. And in the second method call, I'll add 8 as the second argument for the last index of method. If I now run this, both of these calls find the second L in the string using different methods. The index of method found it looking forward starting at index 3 and searching towards the end of the string. The last index of method found it looking backwards starting from index 8 and searching towards the beginning of the string. Okay, I've covered what I call the string inspection methods. Now let's look at the next set, the string comparison methods. Some of the string comparison methods will check for equality of the string values like equals, equals ignore case, and content equals. Others test whether a substring is part of a string value like the contains method, as well as the ends with and starts with methods. The region matches methods also do this, but it lets you specify regions of the strings to test for matches. There are two others that fit into this category, but not shown on this slide because I'll be talking about the compare to and the matches methods later in the course for more advanced topics in the context of sorting and using regular expressions. Most of these methods are pretty straightforward. Let's create a variable called hello world lower and assign that to the result of the toLowerCase method from the hello world variable. Then I'll use the equals method and test if hello world equals hello world lower, string hello world lower equals hello world dot to lowercase, if in parentheses hello world dot equals and hello world lower as the argument, use println to display values match exactly, and let's copy and paste that if statement. I'll change equals to equals ignore case and change my output slightly. And if I run that, hopefully there are no surprises here. I don't get any output from the first if statement because the cases of the text values aren't equal, but I do get output from the second if statement that the string values match if I do ignore case. Let's quickly look at a couple of the others. I'll add a test using the starts with method. If, and in parentheses hello world, dot starts with hello, println string starts with hello. Next I'll copy and paste that to test the ends with method, changing the method name to ends with and passing world as the argument. I'll also change my message slightly to string ends with world. And lastly, let's just also include a test of the contains method. Again, I'll copy and paste the previous code, the if statement with the ends with method, and I'll change the method from ends with to contains. Then I'll change the message to say string contains world. Okay, so I have 3 new tests, and running this code shows the results I'd expect. String starts with hello, string ends with world, and string contains world. Okay, so there's one more I haven't yet tested, and that's content equals. I can copy the equals if statement from above and paste it after these other tests. I'll change the method from equals to content equals. This time I'll test a string literal so that the argument equals the value in the variable, so I'll make the argument hello world. And if I run that, you can see that the values match exactly. You might be wondering why Java has both the equals method and the content equals method. The answer is that the content equals method isn't limited to just comparing string objects. It can be used to compare a string builder's value, which the equals method doesn't support. I'll talk about this more when we look at string builder. I've covered string comparison and string inspection methods. Let's end this video here, and in the next video, I'll cover our final category of methods, which I'm calling the string manipulation methods.